What's going on, y'all? It's J Small Reviews here, back at it again with another video. As you guys can see by the title, doing a spin back on the GTX Battle of the Bay 10 card and giving my picks for the top 5 battlers I think need or would greatly benefit from a W on the card. Big reason, any of these events I want to get 2 or 3 videos on when it comes to like big time events, whether it's history piece, a more in-depth prediction piece. And when we go into big events, there's big battles, and that means that there's big stakes. People's careers can change. They have a lot on the line. Is there anyone up here that I think if they lose, their career's over? Not necessarily, you know what I'm saying? But I do think that there is guys that need W's to continue their momentum heading into other big matchups. Need W's just for the greatness of their stock right now if it's a little bit down, or if it's up and really just can't afford to take a loss right now with what they have coming up. So with all those different perspectives, thought it would just be cool to give my picks for who could really gain and benefit the most from a win on this card. If you guys would like to see this for RB, Chrome, URL, Summer Madness Max Out, right? I Do What I Want card, all those cards coming up, please let me know. Definitely down to do it going forward. Without further ado, let me give you my picks. So at number 5, first person that I believe could really use a W or even needs a W on this card is Solcon at the 5 spot. Now, I actually have Solcon getting 30 going into this event, so obviously I don't really think he's going to retrieve that W. But it's been a little bit of a rough road for Solcon ever since he returned. Diz battle, right, wasn't very good. It's going back a little bit. Then he returns again versus A Ward. Does okay, does better in that scenario. Personally, had him losing, but it's rewatchable, right, even though a little bit bizarre. Frack, he just dies. And then you have a QP rematch here. One of his more famous wins, one of the reasons he really came notoriety, right, in his highlight reel is where quantum physics lies in that first battle. So then you get the rematch, and I think, to then, if that was to get undone, if he's to take an ugly loss in the other direction years later, with the way he hasn't been that good, I could see this being towards the end of Solcon's little return here. So I guess in terms of one person on this list that if they lost, I think I could see them possibly going away, especially if it's a dramatic loss. I don't think Solcon can afford that many more, just absolutely grotesque 30 balls. But we're going to see how it goes down. Would hope that he would achieve. I think this setting is going to be the best setting for him to kind of be his best self. But we're just going to have to wait and see how that plays out. But I think he's someone that could really use a W on the upper half of this card. At number 4, a name I think people will be surprised to see, but I do have B Magic. I think B Magic's an interesting case, particularly in the last year and a half. I think Magic has been the best he's been in a long time in terms of consistency. Not a lot of like great top tier W's, right? This is 2013 Magic, didn't just walk back through the door, but the Danny battle, really good. The Pass battle, really good. Some mid-tier affairs that are pretty good as well, right? The Coach Corleone battle was a good look in the Blue Room. And I think that there's just good momentum on his name. He's on a big card here with GTX. Possibly if he wins this, you could see him popping up on big cards that keep going forward. And maybe we do climb back into a way where Magic is motivated and things start working out with these W's. We see him in bigger spots. And that's kind of the big thing here. You can't take a loss to Lil Pesci. Now, beating him on a return, I don't think that beating Pesci is going to give him like some super props. But if he loses, I guarantee you that could definitely affect his stock, especially if it's like a choking loss where it's just he's not motivated. Don't need that for Magic right now. I think this is the best, like I said, he's been in years. I think he's like at that, battling at like a high mid-tier level, but we all know there's top-tier talent in Magic, and it's just a matter of making the optics look that way. He's battling at a mid-tier level because that's who he's battling against, the optics. But if we put him in some top-tier situations and he hangs, the community would more than embrace Magic returning and being back on form in a top-tier way, right? So can't afford a silly loss like this. I think there is big things on the horizon for Magic if he continues to perform at this consistent level. And for that, I think he has to, as the extreme overdog I believe that he should be, get a very clear and easy W right here. That leads me into my top 3 guys that I really think could need a W. When you look at Solcon and Magic, I think that those are more a little bit of peculiar picks, right? Like, I believe they can need it, but they are solidified in a sense. But for these 3, I think for some in-the-moment reasons, they're even more important. At number 3, I do think A Ward really could use a W here versus Frack. Another one where I'm actually predicting against this battler. I do think it could be easily a debatable battle. Could very easily see A Ward winning. He's that talented. But I think Frack's a tough matchup, and it's more about the hell schedule. I think that's coming up for a Ward. We talk about the Frack battle, right? Then he's got Verb, probably the biggest battle of his career on Max Out coming up. He's talked about having another huge opponent within the month. So he has a lot of different, within the month of September. So he has a lot of different things. It seems like, I see Twerk shooting at him, right? Something about Twerk and A-Ward in December. I saw Anwar talking about, which, it's not booked, but I'm saying there's a lot of names calling out Ward right now. His name has been in those best battle in the world conversations, in those top Cody conversations for multiple years now. And I think what you're finally starting to see is sorry, camera a little popped up, but what I think you're finally starting to see is everyone stepping out in a real unison for Ward. He'd catch the Nitty battle, catch the Geechee battle, caught Shug somewhere around that, but now we're seeing the top of the top guys wanting to battle him back to back, and it all starts with Frack, a very, very difficult challenge. I just think it's one of those where he loses to Frack and then goes on to destroy Verb, right? I don't think necessarily it would kill him. I think he'd that's a greater benefit. The win would be more emphasized than the loss. So need, right, like as it is going to be with this list, need in general is always a very harsh word, but I think he could greatly benefit. You don't want to start out with a loss, have the fans down on you a little bit going into the blue room. Frack is a tough matchup, and to get this win early would show how focused you are, and would give you momentum going into probably the biggest battle of his career up to this point. So looking very forward to seeing what Ward does. Like I said, if he loses, I don't think the world ends, but a win he would greatly benefit from, especially from all he has coming up in the second half of 2023. And that leads you into the top two, which, funny enough, these two names, in my opinion, are the top two for something else as well. But at the runner-up, who I think could really use a W, is Big K. Now, he's the heavy favorite versus Rex. And when you're the heavy favorite, I feel like it almost puts more pressure on you to get the W. Rex is a legend, and the way that K is building his resume this year, some would argue it's not always the difficulty of the battle he's battling, but a lot of namesake and legend status, right? A-Word, for instance, definitely in the moment, one of the better in the world right now. Then you get Mook. You don't get a lot of a bigger name than that, even if for many the difficulty doesn't necessarily equal up to that name, right? Same thing with Rex. Some would argue the same thing for Ill. So you see this kind of legend killer run from K this year, and the thing is, he is the overwhelming overdog in these next two matchups versus Ill and versus Rex, and I think you need to get a W for that. You can't go in there and get outclassed by a legend that you're supposed to clean up, especially after cleaning up Mook, which is the most big name legend. We might not think the skill exactly meets up right now, but the win is still moving for your career. It's that type of thing where I think he just needs to clean these up, similar to the Magic battle. So much momentum on a Cody-like run, definitely in those conversations heading into the second half of the year. And you can't afford a loss to a guy that you could really debate hasn't won a battle in 9 years, right? Legend. We're not questioning if Rex is a legend or not, but he's obviously been more beatable in recent years. Even though his easy performance is pretty good, pretty clearly lost that. He just hasn't shown me he's going to compete at a 3-round level. I think 90 second rounds, like I said in my prediction, helps Rex, right, a lot, but still plays to K's strengths as a rapper. And for me, when you're on a run this big, you can't afford to just take a random loss out of nowhere. And for that reason, I think K really needs a W on this card. And that leads me to my last pick. Who do I think needs a W most on this card? And it would be the main event of day one. And it's, as we've talked about, so many different topics, always talked about, Easy the Block Captain, number one on my list, and kind of all eyes on him going into this, right? Him versus Disaster was a huge shocker. Many thought it was going to be a 1-rounder going in. Turns out to be a 3-rounder, right? So now you have all this. You have a 3-rounder versus Disaster. And this is your first battle coming back from the very loud drama around Easy's name, the PAP situation, everything that's went on with that, the bickerman he's had back and forth with battlers since then. And he's the algorithm bull, right? So all you ever get is Easy. It's always big with him. It's a big amount of trash talk. It's some big project. It's a big battle coming up. So it puts all the eyes on you, like I said. And going into this one, in my opinion, on a 14 battle win streak, I don't think that losing to Diz is what we saw on the cards, right? I don't think that's something that people foresee. With the Geechee mega match on the horizon, probably the biggest battle booked in battle rap right now, I don't think that you can come in here and lose to Disaster and not have your winning streak momentum going into that. I think it would be critical. I think he's already in a very tough spot going into the Geechee battle, and I think going in off of a loss would make it even more critical. You are facing Disaster, right, on a GTX, on his league, on a card that should have the energy that he's kind of built a career off of, like many of the other grind time type of talents that are on this card. But as good as his legacy is, Diz as of recent hasn't battled up to that exact like super legend format. I think the most recent dramatic loss to Next, many didn't see it, didn't end up dropping on YouTube, which I think is a little weird. It was supposed to. But happened on the lot. To take a 30 there, Diz is clearly a little past prime. Got not destroyed, but got cleared by Geechee last year, right, in a pretty decent performance. I just think here for easy, similar to the legends that have battled Diz before him, like a Tay-Rock, like a T-Rex. Rex has never done too great versus like the URL type of battler, the street style type of battler. And I think right here, you can't be the first one to give him that air in a minute to give him that kind of relief of like just beating one of those top guys from that urban style of rap. And even just completely aside of that, you just can't afford the loss going into the Geechee battle. I could say 80 different ways, but obviously Easy is heavily favored to win. Many think he's the best in the world right now, and to keep the title and all that momentum, which he very much so needs going into the Chrome event, a win versus Diz is a must here, and why I think he really needs a W more than anybody on this card. But that is my full prediction, not predictions, my top 5 guys I think could really benefit from or really need a W on the GTX card. A little bit of like a different version of the predictions, but wanted to hone in on the talents that I'm really, so you know who my eyes are on specifically going into this. You guys let me know, who do you think needs a W the most on this card? Who do you want to see a extremely impressive performance for, and who are you keened in on going into the GTX card? But it's been Jay Smo Reviews again, y'all. As I said, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know who you're looking at most to get a W going into this card. Couple days until it's there. I'm gonna catch you on the next one, man. Peace.